Have you ever wondered how the people that built Stonehenge may have moved the stones? Well, so have we. Here at Stonehenge, we've been running some experimental archaeology projects for a couple of years. Last year, we tried to move a stone about the size of one of the lintels using rollers. This year, we're going to be testing our new timber frame sled to move the same stone. The project we're doing today is an experimental archaeology project, and that involves using well-researched authentic tools made in the correct way, using the techniques that we can find in the archaeological evidence to produce the sled. And the idea is that by combining those known methods and techniques, we can try and get to some of the unanswered questions that surround this kind of site. First of all, we have to take these whole logs and split them down into usable timbers, and we do that with wooden wedges. And really it's a case of driving a wooden wedge into the log and actually controlling where the split runs to make the shapes we want. We then have to reduce it in length, and we're doing that with our stone axes, cross-cutting them, which is actually probably the hardest thing to do because you're working directly against the grain of the wood. And then the final process is to use an adze, and you actually swing that between your legs and it skims off the surface of the wood. So we're using the adzes to turn a sort of pie-shaped quarter of a log into a rectangular timber so that we can actually start to joint it really precisely. So we don't know how long it would have taken them to build a sled like this, but the only way we can try and get to that answer is to time everything we're doing. And then that'll give us some idea as to how long it might have taken. So the lessons we're learning from this project are that, first of all, we're modern humans, and our volunteers, understandably, on day 3 are just getting used to the tools. So they're producing surfaces and they're using tools well, but there's a long, long way to go before we reach the level of sophistication of Neolithic carpenters. I find this whole subject really fascinating because actually we tend to see the stone remains of the late Stone Age, but actually what we're missing is that incredible timber infrastructure that must have gone with it. And so we can see the sophistication in the mortise and tenon joints at Stonehenge itself, but to create the frameworks that must have put those stones in place, they would have been using similar joints and even more advanced joints in the timber work they were doing. So in short, I think we always underestimate the sophistication of people, not just in the Neolithic, but further back into the Stone Age, simply because we're no longer capable of using the tools to the same degree that they would have used them every day. We haven't started at the age of 6 or 7. We haven't made our own tools and got used to exactly how they work. So we're always sort of approaching it from 5 steps behind where they would have been. So once the carpentry has been completed, we take our 16 different pieces of timber and we have to construct them around the monolith. So the sled is now finished, and what we've found during the course of this project is that it's about 5 times slower to use a stone tool than it is to use a metal tool. So the aim of the Sledge is to test it, of course. So what we've got planned is a course, and we're going to drag the sledge down a course that is measured, and we're also going to just try and drag it on grass. We want to test all of those things and get the public involved to really see whether it would be efficient or less efficient to use a sledge.